They say a daycare is a second home, a place of safety, love, and warmth. A place where children are protected, nurtured, and cared for. Parents trust these places with the most precious part of their lives, believing their children are in good hands. But what if the very hands they trusted were the ones causing the harm? Inside the quiet, colorful walls of this daycare, behind the prayers, the laughter, the painted smiles, there's a darkness. A darkness hiding in plain sight. Laurin Boyce, 73, her eyes cold, her expression hard, stands over a 2-year-old toddler. The child, small and fragile, writhes in her grip, trying to break free from the suffocating hold. The toddler's tiny arms flail helplessly, tears starting to well up, but Boyce isn't bothered. Her grip tightens. Her movements are sharp, ruthless, unfeeling. The child whimpers, a soft cry escaping, but it's not enough to break the hardened exterior of the woman holding them. Boyce's face doesn't soften. It doesn't change. She pulls the child forward, the toddler's small body jerking violently with each movement. And then, without a second thought, without hesitation, bam! The child's head slams into the wooden crib with a sickening thud. A moment of stillness follows, the room so quiet it feels like time itself has stopped. For a split second, the child's cries cut off, replaced by a stunned gasp. Then the pain floods in. The screams come pouring out, raw and desperate, as if every bit of pain from that blow has broken through and spilled into the air. The cries are louder now, broken, gut-wrenching, impossible to ignore. But Boyce? She doesn't flinch. She stands there for a moment, still as stone, exhaling sharply. Irritation, not remorse, crosses her face. She doesn't check the child for injury, doesn't comfort them. She simply pulls the blanket over the child, the movement careless, dismissive. Her face, as cold as ever, reveals nothing. And then, as if this moment didn't matter at all, she walks away. Welcome to True Crime Stories videos. I welcome you, my viewers, and most especially my subscribers, for your support as we keep improving and bringing you daily told and untold true crime stories. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel. The toddler, alone, trembling, continues to sob in the crib, abandoned in that moment of pain and fear. But in the corner, almost invisible, a small security camera blinks on. Silent. Hidden. Watching. Recording. Waiting. The truth is captured, but no one is there to stop it. Not yet. Not until it's too late. The sun shines down on the playground, warm and bright. A place where children should be laughing, playing, safe. But today there is no joy. Laurin Boyce stands in the middle of it all. Her eyes find the same 2-year-old child, the one she had already hurt. The child wobbles slightly on the grass, unaware. Too small. Too innocent. Then, a hand. A grip. Boyce's fingers wrap around the child's tiny arm, too tight, too rough. The child flinches. A small whimper escapes, but it doesn't matter. She grabs a leg next. Now the child is hanging, helpless, body dangling in the air like a rag doll. For a moment there is stillness. Then she throws. At first, the little body hits the ground hard. A terrible thud. For a second, everything is quiet. Then the scream. Sharp. Piercing. Heartbreaking. The child clutches their head, shaking, sobbing. Tiny hands reach out, searching for comfort, for safety, but there is none. Boyce doesn't stop. She doesn't bend down. Doesn't care. She just turns and walks away. Like nothing happened. Children are everywhere. People are nearby. But no one moves. No one helps. The only sound is the child's broken cries. And in the corner, watching, recording, waiting, the camera blinks. The child's cries cut through the air, raw and desperate. Tiny hands clutch their head, their small body curled on the ground. Shaking. Sobbing. Hurting. But Boyce doesn't look back. She just keeps walking. Unbothered. Unrushed. Her shadow stretches across the pavement, long and dark, swallowing the sunlight beneath her feet. The other children stare, their wide eyes frozen in confusion, in fear. Some shift nervously. Some glance at each other, waiting for someone, anyone, to do something. No one does. A teacher, standing a few feet away, turns her back. Another one lowers her eyes, focusing on the toys in front of her, pretending she didn't see. Because seeing means acknowledging. And acknowledging means doing something. And no one wants to do anything. Inside the building, behind the daycare doors, they see it too. Jessica Angeline Elmore, the childcare development director, watches from the window. She saw everything. The way Boyce grabbed the child. The way she threw them down like nothing. The sickening thud. The heartbreaking cry. Her fingers twitch at her side. Her lips press together. Then she turns away. Not because she didn't see. Because she did. Dawn Denise Curvin, the principal, hears the cry from down the hall. The sound makes her pause. Her chest rises and falls in a deep breath. She knows what it means. She's heard it before. Her hands grip the edge of her desk, knuckles white. Then she lets go. She straightens her back, looks down at the papers in front of her, and pretends it never happened. Lee Patrick, the pastor, the man who leads the school, who preaches about love, kindness, and protection, sits behind his desk. The cries seep through the walls, muffled but clear. He shifts in his chair. Then he picks up his phone. Not to call for help. Not to check on the child. To scroll. To distract himself. To move on. The silence inside the building is thick. Suffocating. Outside, the child's cries grow weaker. The sobs slow. Not because the pain is gone, but because they know no one is coming. And in the corner, unseen, the camera keeps recording. Waiting. Watching. Until someone finally listens. On the surface, nothing has changed. But behind closed doors, behind the painted walls and polished floors, the truth is waiting to be seen. In a small, dark office, a computer screen flickers. A hidden camera had been watching. Recording. Capturing everything. It saw Boyce's hand tighten around the child's fragile arm. It saw the child's body thrown like nothing. It heard the cries. The pain. The silence that followed. And now the footage plays. Undeniable. Unforgiving. A staff member watches the screen, their breath caught in their throat. The mouse shakes slightly under their fingers. They rewind. Play it again. The child's body hits the ground. The thud echoes through the speakers. The cry rips through the room. The staff member's stomach twists. Another person enters. Then another. The room fills with uneasy bodies, eyes locked on the screen. No one speaks. No one breathes. Then the door creaks open. Jessica Angeline Elmore steps in. Her face is pale. Her hands are stiff at her sides. She already knows what's on that screen. She watches, her lips parting slightly, but no words come. Because what can she say? What excuse can she give? The footage rolls on. The truth playing out in real time. Then, another voice. From behind, Dawn Denise Curvin steps forward. She doesn't ask what's happening. She doesn't need to. She sees the screen. The violence. The indifference. The betrayal. Her lips tremble for half a second. Then she swallows hard, masking it. Like she always does. But the mask is cracking. Because the camera doesn't lie. And now, someone has to answer for what's been done. The daycare doors burst open. Heavy boots slam against the floor, the sharp sound cutting through the usual hum of children's voices and rustling papers. The police move fast. Decisive. No hesitation. No second chances. The first set of handcuffs snap shut. Laurin Boyce. Her face is empty. No shock. No regret. Just that same cold, hardened expression. As if none of this matters. As if she's above it all. The officers tighten their grip on her arms, but she doesn't resist. There's no need. The camera already spoke for her. The truth already sealed her fate. Then Jessica Elmore. She lowers her head, her shoulders slumping under the weight of what she chose to ignore. She could have stopped it. She didn't. The cuffs click around her wrists. Next, Dawn Curvin. She shivers, her hands trembling as they're pulled behind her back. Her lips part as if to speak, but there's nothing to say. Nothing that can erase what she allowed. The weight of inaction is heavy. And now she carries it with every step. And then, the last one. Lee Patrick. The pastor. The leader. The man who preached love, kindness, protection. He stands frozen, his face pale. His church, his school, his faith, none of it shields him now. The cuffs clamp down. A final lock. A final truth. As they're led through the daycare halls, children watch. Small faces peek through doorways. Tiny hands clutch at stuffed animals, crayons, and nap blankets. Too young to understand, but not too young to feel. They know something is wrong. And in the silence of the daycare, as the doors close behind the officers, the camera stops recording. His job is done. The news spreads like wildfire. One whisper turns into 10. 10 turn into 100. And soon the whole town knows. People gather outside the daycare. Parents, neighbors, strangers who had once walked past this place without a second thought. Now they stare at it like it's something foreign. Something monstrous. A mother clutches her child's hand, her grip tight, almost desperate. She stares at the building, eyes filled with something between rage and sorrow. How could this happen? Someone mutters. A father shakes his head, his jaw clenched. In a Christian school? With children we trust? The questions pile up. The anger builds. Some people cry. Others shout. The weight of betrayal settles over the crowd, thick and suffocating. Because this wasn't supposed to happen here. This was supposed to be safe. A woman presses a hand to her chest, breathing heavy, shaking. Her child went here. She trusted these people. Now, she doesn't know who to trust anymore. A man clenches his fists, his voice sharp. They knew. They knew and they did nothing. The crowd nods, murmurs, agrees. The doors of the daycare remain closed. The windows dark, as if the building itself is ashamed. But it's too late for shame. The town has seen the truth, and now they want justice. The courtroom is packed. Every seat is filled. Every corner holds someone who needs to see this. The families sit in the front row, hands clasped, faces tight with pain. Some hold tissues, some stare ahead, frozen, their grief too deep for tears. The judge enters. The room falls silent. At the defense table, Laurin Boyce sits stiff and unbothered. Her eyes are cold, distant. No remorse. Not now. Not ever. Beside her, Jessica Elmore keeps her head low. Dawn Curvin rubs her sweaty palms together, her leg bouncing under the table. Lee Beak Patrick barely moves, his face pale, hands folded like a man in prayer. But prayers won't save him now. The charges are read. Child abuse. Neglect. Failure to protect. Each word lands like a punch. The weight of it heavy in the room. The prosecutor stands, his voice sharp, unwavering. He plays the footage. The screen lights up. And there it is. Boyce's hand gripping too tight. A child's body hitting the ground. The cries. The silence that followed. The families flinch. Some turn away. Some don't blink. A mother presses a hand to her mouth, shoulders shaking. A father clenches his fists, his knuckles white. The jury watches. Their faces grim, their eyes burning with something close to rage. The defense tries to argue. Excuses. Justifications. Empty words. But the footage speaks louder. The truth is laid bare. And in the silence of the courtroom, with the evidence playing for all to see, the verdict is near. A child sits in a small chair, hands folded tightly in their lap. Their fingers tremble. Their eyes, wide, distant, searching. Looking for something they'll never find. Peace. Safety. A childhood they lost. Their voice is soft, almost a whisper. I'll never forget. I can't. The words hang in the air, heavy. Too heavy for a child to carry. They stare down, avoiding the camera. Avoiding the past. But it's there. Always there. A deep breath. A shaky exhale. They speak again. I remember the pain. The fear. The way she looked at me, like I didn't matter. Their small hands clench. Knuckles white. Nails digging into skin. I screamed, but no one came. Pause. A breath held too long. No one came. Their voice breaks. A tear falls. The shadows of the past wrap around them. Because trauma doesn't leave. It lingers. In nightmares. In quiet moments. In the way they flinch at sudden movements. I just wanted someone to help me. Silence. A mother watches from the corner of the room, her own eyes glassy, her heart breaking for the child she can't save from the past. But the past doesn't let go. And as the screen fades to black, the pain still lingers. If this story moved you, please subscribe and leave a comment. Every voice matters. Every story deserves to be told. Let's make sure no child suffers in silence. The trial is over. The gavel has fallen. The guilty are behind bars. The school stands empty, its doors locked, its halls silent. But the weight of what happened remains. A broken trust. A shattered innocence. Wounds that no verdict can erase. The children who lived through it still carry the scars. Some visible, some buried deep. The parents still wake up at night, haunted by the thought, what if I had known? The town moves forward, but it does not forget. The cameras are gone. The news vans have left. But the echoes of the past never truly fade. Because silence has a price. And this time it cost too much.